Tanya's the pledge. Yeah. You ready?
Yeah.
Rick, are you ready? Yes. You recording? You ready? You guys ready?
Ready?
Okay. It's 9:01. We're here in the commission chambers for a legislative hearing. It is, first thing I'd ask everybody to do is turn your phones off or at least put them on silent. We'll open today with prayer from Gabby Blackburn and the pledge from Tanya Craven.
Our dearly Father, we're so grateful that we can be gathered here together. Please bless that our community will be happy and prosper, and we love you and say this in the name of Jesus Christ.
Amen.
Everyone, please stand following the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Gabby. Thank you, Tanya. We're here today to convey a hearing, a legislative hearing, and we'll open that hearing up. As of now, we received a claim from the Sheriff's Department, or actually from Steve Labrum. And as we've been looking into that, and it came to that I was the chair, I asked, what do we need to do to get to the bottom of this so we know what and where and if we owe money, if the county owes money or if we don't, if these employees are due the money or if they don't. So the only way I could see to get that is get evidence. I'm so tired of hearing people's opinion and what went on. I want to know the facts. I want to know what the facts are, and I want paperwork to prove it. And this is the way that we can get the paperwork to prove where we're at, and so we can make a decision of what we need to do. So at that time, I asked Commissioner Stringer to do an investigation and start pulling stuff together. And so at this time, I'm going to turn the time over to Commissioner Stringer, and he'll conduct the hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Welcome, everyone, to, I think, the first ever Uintah County legislative hearing. There's a handout on the back. I don't know if everyone got one, but the purpose of the hearing today is to investigate the optional URS contributions to Uintah County employees. In accordance with Utah Code 1753-106, a hearing will be conducted by the Uintah County Commission in their role as the legislative body for Uintah County government. This is a legislative hearing, not a public hearing or a trial. The witnesses who provide testimony are fact witnesses whose duties are related to the subject of the hearing. Comments will not be solicited from the public. The purpose of the hearing is to obtain information which might have a bearing on a notice of claim submitted to the county by Steve Labrum. The notice of claim affects the majority of public service employees in the county. Uintah County Policy 460, Listing of Benefits, Section 8, 401K 457, Paragraph A. The second sentence states, annually, the county determines a percentage it contributes to each employee's account. The notice of claim submitted by Steve Labrum alleges that public safety employees were intentionally denied the contribution without justification or explanation. It's the intention of the commission to call witnesses and receive documents which help to determine what actually happened with the contribution process. Any relevant findings will be used to inform the commission's actions and decisions moving forward. Subpoenas for witnesses and records were issued and testimony will be taken under oath. The authority which allows this to take place is Utah Code 17-53106, Part 2, A through B. For those of you that were curious as to how that works, this is actually a very useful tool, especially for an issue as we're facing now. It's a long and complex issue. There's a lot of history, there's a lot of information. And so far, what we've been able to find through asking people questions and searching the record is not conclusive. So one last effort is going to be made to get information, hopefully prior to any legal action taking place. There's some specific hearing information I would like to share with you before we start. The content of this meeting will be transcribed rather than represented by minutes, as is the case with most public meetings. Witnesses will be offered the choice of oaths depending on their convictions with respect to the words swear and God. Subpoenas were issued to fact witnesses outside the commission organization, and a letter of direction was sent to those within the commission organization. Steve Labrum was invited to testify since he was the person who filed the claim. Witnesses will not be compelled to answer questions under oath, with the exception of swearing to the completeness of the records submitted to the legislative body as directed by the subpoena. This proceeding is a function of the legislative body. The public is welcome to observe. There will be no public comment solicited or taken. If any members of the public within the commission chambers interrupts the hearing, a warning will be issued to all in attendance. If there's a second interruption, the public will be cleared from the commission chambers. So with that, there is a claim that was filed, notice of claim received by the commission. It should have been sent to the clerk auditor at the same time on January 4th of this year. In accordance with Utah Code Annotated 63G 7401, prior to filing an action in court, you must file a claim for any type of loss to the county clerk's office. Your claim will be reviewed, and Uintah County will make every effort to rectify harm caused to entities or individuals on a case-by-case basis. That's the form that was submitted by Steve Labrum. And then the form goes on to describe the incident. Attach extra sheets if necessary. And I don't know that it's necessary to read the entire claim, but we will start off. Pursuant to County Commission meetings minutes in 2004, the Uintah County Commission met and discussed the optional 401K program and the exclusion of post-certified employees. For those of you that don't know, post is the certification for all of our law enforcement folks. The commission then voted and implemented said program. The exclusion came from an increase in the required URS rate. The optional 401 rates were derived from percentages based off public safety URS required rate. There is continued discussion. It is now a part of our record, so there's no sense in going any further with it, but that is, we're starting to get a feel for how long this issue has been going on. And as we ask and go through some of the questions, it will start to become apparent how complex the issue is as well. So with that being said, we'll move on. The people that have been scheduled to provide testimony today are in fact fact-based witnesses. Steve Labrum will be sworn in. Tanya Craven, HR. Leanne George with payroll. Mark Caldwell as the URS person in the last 2 years, and then Clerk Auditor Mike Wilkins. So with that, I will go ahead and, Commissioners, did you have any other comments?
I don't.
The way this will work is that I will go ahead and ask some questions that are purely pertinent to trying to get some of this information. We're not going to go into any kind of, this is not a trial. This is not intended to come to an answer of any kind today. The only questions that really need to be answered is, was there documentation required by your subpoena or letter that you found and you have provided that in its entirety to the commission as part of this hearing. So with that, I'll call Steve Labrum. And Steve, I don't know, do you have any, I mentioned this early on, but do you have any issue or unwillingness to use the word swear or so help you God? Okay, please repeat after me then. Or don't repeat after me. Raise your right hand. Please stand, raise your right hand, swear to the following. Do you solemnly swear that the information you shall give in this meeting shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. All right, Steve, on January 4th, 2022, the Uintah County Commission received an email transmitting a Uintah County notice of claim. Are you still pursuing this claim?
Yes.
When did you learn of the issue that caused you to file the claim?
2021 was when it was come to light, more detail than just rumor, things that had gone on, possible policy violations in 2021, probably the spring of 2021.
Okay. As part of when you filed this claim, you know that there's a 1-year grace period to file a claim. Is there any chance that you can, if not today, could you nail down that time a little bit more closely besides spring? Would you be able to put a date on it?
Probably.
Not this minute, but do you think you could?
Yeah.
Okay.
I could get a month.
The commission would like to see that if, when you can.
Okay.
All right. Just out of curiosity here, how many hours do Uintah County public safety employees work per pay period? Well, that's actually not the question I want to ask. What I want to know is, what is your tour of duty? What is the tour of duty for the normal person? Is it 80 hours?
Normal pay period is 80 hours. We're not eligible for overtime until 86 hours.
So when you say not eligible to 86, is that most of our other employees, if their tour of duty or if their regularly scheduled duty is 80 hours, if they work 81, then they start into overtime. So you work 86, not 80?
Yes.
Do you know how long that's been the case?
Talking to other employees that have been at the sheriff's office for a long time is at least 2005 or previous.
So there are 2005. Do you know if there are any records that show that? Or these are recollections from individuals?
Yeah, deputies have said that they, back in those days, they had to work the 86 as well. I don't know if they have pay stubs to prove that or not.
Okay. All right. Do you have any other things that you would like to provide? We do have your claim. These are the questions that I personally needed to ask. I'm going to go ahead and ask if you have anything else that you would like to offer as part of your claim. Once again, we're not really looking for a tremendous amount of, we really don't need a lot of opinion. What we're looking for is factual information that we could follow or retrieve that would be useful as we move forward in our, all this is going to lead to a closed session for purposes of pending or imminent litigation.
Okay.
And so what we need to do is find the information that will help guide us through that decision-making process.
Okay. Could I indulge the public and the commission in a short statement of why this came about?
Yes.
Okay. As a department head and the elected sheriff, one part of my job is to look out for my employees. This includes trying to keep their wages and benefits competitive and in line with what the market is. When the whole defund the police movement came about a couple of years ago, there were a lot of good cops that left the profession. This created a void, and many departments were sorely understaffed and still are. The chain reaction to the defund the police movement and cops leaving the profession was law enforcement pay and benefits became very competitive. More or less bidding wars were going on to recruit good cops and still are. All the tools of the city, state, and county budgets were unleashed. Sign-on bonuses, pay for experience, higher starting wages, PTO and sick leave up front, and large matches for 401k programs. I watched as this happened and aggressively looked at ways I could keep my deputies in Uintah County Sheriff uniform. We looked at wages and all benefits. I found that deputies were being left out when it came to an optional 401k that other employees were getting. As I looked into this further, I found that policy 460 had not been followed by the county. This states that the 401k and 457B contributions are reviewed annually for each employee. The more I looked into this, the more frustrated I became. I spoke to all current and many former deputies and asked how long this had gone on. It was apparent this had been happening a long time. I volunteered to be my current deputies and many former deputies' voice to dive into this and see why Uintah County deputies were left behind. I filed a formal complaint to the county on 8/2/21, and I filed in behalf of all Uintah County deputies, current and past, a notice of claim against the county, Uintah County, on 1/4/22. The purpose of both of these pieces of paper is to find out what went wrong, how we can fix it, and to see if deputies are owed compensation for something they had no control over. I want to make it very clear, I don't have much skin in this game, as the reference goes. I worked for Uintah County in 05 and 06 for about a year and a half, and then I was elected in 2019. This doesn't affect me personally very much, but it affects several of the past and current deputies throughout their entire career. That's why I stood up and am a voice for them.
Okay.
Thanks.
Commissioners, any questions?
I do.
Steve?
I do have just a couple. And you've answered one in your statement. One, can we get a copy of your statement to put in our record?
Yep.
And then two, what is the average lifespan of a law enforcement officer? How long does one, do they usually last their whole career? Do they burn out? What's the, give me a, I've never been an officer.
Well, the purpose of the 20-year retirement, as I know it, is because of that burnout. Officers don't last very long in the profession. It's very, very trying emotionally and physically. And throughout my career, the many years I've been doing this, most guys are leaving between 7 and 10 years. They find a better paying job, or they've seen things that they can't unsee, and they get out of the profession.
Okay, that's all I have.
Commissioner Horks? One thing, Steve, while I do appreciate, as the complainant, you certainly have concerns. One thing I do want to point out for the record is that you indicated that you believed the policy had not been followed. The purpose of this hearing is actually to find that out. So while we appreciate your take on that, the record does need to show that we have not reached that determination at all, but we are hoping to.
And I appreciate this hearing to find that out, or at least get some direction.
All right. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
All right.
Thank you.
We call Tanya Craven. One of the things I should have mentioned, Steve, I think you probably know this, but it is advised in this setting. The warning is discretionary, can be given once during a meeting to govern all witnesses. In testifying before this committee, in addition to other penalties, be advised it's a second-degree felony for a person to make a false material statement under oath or affirmation in official proceedings such as this. That's one time for everyone. It's not pointing to anyone in particular. I should have read it before. You want to take anything back that you said? Okay, good. All right. Tanya, would you please raise your right hand? Do you have any issues with SWARE or God? Okay. Do you solemnly swear that the information you shall give in this meeting shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
State your name
Tanya Craven.
and your position with the county.
I'm currently the HR director
And how long have you been the HR director?
for 2 years.
Okay. You were sent a letter from the commission requiring you to attend this hearing and to bring with you specific records. As the Human Resources Director for Uintah County, you have duties and responsibilities which require you to have knowledge of URS, the URS. Your office also has responsibility to engage with and provide counsel to employees who encounter issues or concerns with their employment. Did you find any information responsive to the information specified by your letter?
I do have some documents.
Okay. Did you find any information that was not specified, but which you believe is related to this hearing or the information required by the letter?
I have a couple of certificates that show reversal of benefit.
Okay. At the end, I want you to be able to have those to refer to. At the end, I would ask you to please bring your documents forward to the bench. Are you aware of any instances where an employee of the county received the optional 401k 457B payment from the county and then had to repay that money at a later date?
I have a document from Adam Gonzalez that shows that he had received 401k and then the payment was reversed or brought back by the
Okay.
county.
If you did identify any employee, which you have, how was the employee directed to repay that money?
He was contacted that it was in his account because he was looking at retirement and career service days and noticed that
Okay,
there was
maybe I need to be more specific on my question. How was he, when it was discovered and said it needs to be paid back, was he issued a bill? Was he issued a letter? How was he directed to pay that money back?
He was directed or requested to sign a certificated document from URS that gave the county permission to retrieve those funds.
Who issued that to him?
For Adam Gonzalez, the employer authorized signature is Leanne George.
Okay. And you have that document as part of your submission?
I do.
Thank you. Did you identify any record objecting to or challenging the county's decision to stop payment of the optional 401K 457 contribution? Or of an appeal directing the repayment of a contribution?
I did not.
Commissioners, do you have any questions for Tanya? Commissioner Haslam?
You're going to give those documentations to us, so we have those, correct?
Yes, I have those and then some other documents that were requested on the paperwork.
It says that your office is responsible for engaging with and provide counsel to employees who encounter issues, students, concerns, and employment. Has any of the public safety employees ever reached out to you about this concern?
About not receiving the 401K. I have not had any conversations other than when Sheriff brought it to my attention.
Okay.
Just to amplify on that, is there any record in your office that you were able to find that through any time prior to your employment, that apparently the concern is that this has been going on
Yes.
for some time. And so you yourself may not have personal knowledge, but were there any records anywhere that referred?
I did find one record from Keith Campbell that questioned the salary and the retirement when he moved from the county because his certification years did not align with what he had acknowledged he was with the county. And so there was a document drawn up by the previous HR director that acknowledged that and how the county should pursue forward.
Okay, is that included in your submission?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I have no further questions.
No further questions. Tanya, you're excused, and if you would, bring that information forward. Thank you. Did you keep a copy for yourself by any chance? Okay. All right. I call Ms. Leanne George. Leanne, do you have any concern about using the word swear or God?
No.
Very good. Would you raise your right hand, please? Do you solemnly swear the information you shall give in this meeting shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Leanne, you were issued a subpoena requiring you to be present at this hearing and to bring with you specific records. As the Deputy Clerk Auditor with responsibility for payroll actions, you have duties and responsibilities which require you to have knowledge of the URS. Your duties also require that you enter data into employees' payroll records specific to contributions and deductions, among other things. My first question is, did you find any information responsive to the information specified in the subpoena?
Yes, I have all the information you requested right
Okay.
here.
Thank you. Did you find any information not specified by the subpoena, but which you believe is related to the information?
No,
Okay. The percentage of an employee's salary that is identified to be paid to the URS as a required contribution, and the percentage determined by the county to be paid as an optional contribution are subject to change every year. How are those rates incorporated into the payroll process?
okay, I'm represented by an attorney,
Okay.
and I will follow her advice on what what I
Okay.
can and
I
cannot say.
don't blame you.
Not really, no. Okay, those rates are set by the Uintah Retirement, and they send those out annually.
Okay. So when you get those, when those are done and sent out, how are they sent to you? Do you get that directly from URS, or are they transmitted to you?
They come directly from URS.
To you, to Leanne, okay? On the optional 401 contribution to a 401K or 457, those have changed throughout the years. I mean, and notwithstanding the policy that says it should be reviewed every year for every employee for the appropriate percentage, there have been changes that were made. How did you incorporate the changes into the pay system?
Can the commissioner be more specific as to
Certainly.
time and year?
When I look at the pay stub, a pay stub, I can look down one side and I see where the contributions by the county are made. And then I see there are lines. There's the 401K, there's the 457, there are contributions. The ones that are directed by URS are not optional. They come in and they're clearly defined as being paid. When there is a change, because they actually go to a different account, I believe, in some cases they go to a different account. So when the optional amount, which is different from the required amount, is to be paid by the county, how do you know, or how does your client know how much to put where?
I'm an instructor to assert her Fifth Amendment right to not answer that question.
Very good.
It's all in.
All right, Leanne, are you aware of any instances where an employee of the county received the optional 401K payment and then had to repay that money at a later date?
Again, I'll instruct her to assert her Fifth Amendment right.
Okay. If you did identify any employee who had to repay an optional contribution, how was the employee directed that be repaid?
Based on the previous answer, we'll take the same position and assert the Fifth.
Did you identify in any record objecting to or challenging the county's decision to stop payment of the optional 401K contribution or the repayment of a contribution?
Can you repeat that question?
Absolutely. I will add more context to the question if that helps. If there was now since you could not respond in number 5, I will tell you how it relates to number 5. Let's assume that an employee did receive the optional contribution, but it had been in error. Then they had to repay it, and you felt that, again, you could not answer that question. But this question is, did you then receive, hear any complaint or a request for why it had to be repaid? Any objection to having to repay that?
Okay, I'm going to be taking my Fifth Amendment
Okay.
per advice of counsel.
All right, those are all the questions I have, Commissioner Haslam.
All the questions I'd have would relate to the ones that she took the Fifth Amendment on, so I
Okay.
have none.
Commissioner Horrocks. Thank you,
And all
Leanne.
of that information is in here.
Thank you very much. All right. Call Mark Caldwell. Mark, do you have any issues or problems in using the term swear or God? And now I lost that. Do you?
I'd rather not swear if I don't have to.
Okay, you don't have to. But I do need to find out what I just had that. All right, Mr. Caldwell. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly affirm that the information you shall give in this meeting shall be the whole truth and nothing but the truth under the penalties of perjury?
Yes.
All right. All right. Mr. Caldwell, you became responsible for the URS. There's that. You became responsible for the URS contribution to, back to URS from Uintah County in, I actually should have asked you, would you please state your title with the county?
I'm the Uintah County Budget Officer
And how long have you been doing that job?
since April of 2020.
Okay. When did you start working with URS?
I started working with URS as part of the budget process. I came on the county as a temporary employee in November of 2019, and there were issues that I dealt with beginning at that point that dealt with URS.
Okay.
I didn't become the designated individual for the county for URS until sometime, I believe, in 2021.
Okay.
But I don't have a specific date, and that's the best of my recollection.
Okay. You were sent a letter from the commission requiring you to attend this hearing and bring with you specific records. As the budget officer, you have duties and responsibilities related to the funding of the required URS contributions and the optional contribution to the 401 account. You've also been designated as the county's contact for the URS. Did you find any information responsive to the information specified by the letter that was sent to you?
Yes, I did.
Did you bring that information with you?
Yes, I did.
Did you find any information not specified by the letter but which you felt is related to the information required by the letter?
Yeah, I found a few items.
Okay. In accordance with Policy 460, Section 8, did you find evidence that the County Commission deliberated and determined a percentage to contribute to the public safety employees account each year between January 1st, 2000 and June 30th, 2021?
I found evidence that in some years it appears that there was a deliberation, not a lengthy deliberation, but it was brought forward in a commission meeting.
Okay.
But that didn't happen every year.
That's all I need to know.
Okay.
Did you have that included is that included in the information you're submitting?
Yes, it is.
Thank you. Were you able to determine if there was a time when the optional 401K 457B payment from the county was made to the employees within the public safety job classification?
Yes, it was.
Okay. Were you able to determine when the optional 401K 457B payment to the public safety employees was discontinued in whole or in part?
So just to add some more detail there is, are you talking about Tier 1 or Tier 2?
Well, start with Tier 1.
Okay, with Tier 1, the record indicates that it was being paid, then it slowly decreased over a couple of years until it was at zero.
Okay.
And it
Well, no, that's
Okay, and
That
tier
is-
2?
That is in the records that you provided?
Yes, it is.
Okay. What about, okay, you can make that note and then you can ask him. What about tier 2?
I'm a
And
little
maybe,
bit-
maybe just for fun.
I'm a little bit, I'm not completely clear on that from the record, but it appears in the record that it's possible that the Tier 2 public safety employees, when that came about in 2011, Tier 2 began July 1st of 2011, that it appears that there was an optional piece in there that slowly went away also.
Does your record, does
The record indicates that.
the information that you're submitting to the commission shows that?
Yes.
Okay. Were you able to locate any official record or recorded deliberation or decision which resulted in the discontinuation of the payment to the public safety employees, first of all, Tier 1?
Yes.
Okay. Were you able to find written or recorded deliberation or decision which resulted in the discontinuation of the payment to the public safety employees in Tier 2?
No, but, like I said, I'm not 100% sure that they were receiving it. The record's not very clear from what I can tell, and so I think it appears that they got it, but I don't see any deliberation that it was ever, not that I had, that it was taken away.
Okay. During your review, did you come across any record challenging the decision to discontinue the payment to the public safety employees?
The only one that I'm aware of is the one that's before you now from
Okay.
Steve Labrum.
The state legislature directed those organizations participating in the URS to increase their contribution to the retirement fund for public safety employees. There's information indicating the funds supporting retired public safety employees needed an infusion of cash to remain solvent. Did the additional contribution from Uintah County come from eliminating some or all of the optional 401k, 457B that was being paid to the public safety employees?
From the minutes of the commission meeting, it appears that it was a balancing act, that as those rates, and I'm referring back to 2003, that as the rates went up, the required rate, that the optional 401k rate came down to keep that balance, so that the total contribution was the same as a percentage. The required rate going up and the optional rate coming
Okay.
down.
So the answer was yes. You did find.
State your question again.
In addition to the required URS contributions did the additional contribution from Uintah County come from eliminating some or all? And the answer is yes.
There were years when that happened, yes.
Okay. Did you find any, this goes back to question 7, was there deliberation that discussed the how and why that was to take place?
There was discussion. I'm not sure I'd call it deliberation, but
Okay, that's in the record.
it's in the record.
Okay. In addition to the required URS contributions, were there sufficient funds within the employee's benefits budget to pay for an optional contribution to the public safety employees during any of the years, January 1st, 2000 through June 30, 2021?
So I've run a budget report for the sheriff's office for 2015. In 2015, in the budget line item for employee benefits.
Is yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And you have that record?
Yes.
All right. From the date that the optional payment to the public safety employees was discontinued, this is Tier 1, until the present, has the optional payment to the public safety employees been deliberated to determine if it should be restored in total or in part?
Can you say that again?
From the date that the optional payment to the public safety employees, Tier 1, was discontinued from the day that it was done away with until the present, has the optional payment to the public safety employees been deliberated to determine if it should be, well, let's just say, has it been deliberated to determine if it should be restored in total or in part? Anything in your records that discuss?
There were some deliberations on the optional 401K.
Okay, is it in your records?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. In accordance with County Policy 460, Section 8, was there any documentation that established the amount of the contribution to be paid to the non-public safety employees between January 1st, 2000 and June 30th, 2021?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, that's in your record as well. In or around 2011, the state legislature directed those organizations participating in the URS to increase their contribution to the retirement fund for Tier 1 employees, local government employees. The reason for this increase seemed to be because the funds supporting the retired Tier 1 employees, local government, need an infusion of cash to remain solvent. Did the additional contribution from Uintah County come from eliminating some or all of the optional 401K being paid to the Tier 1 employees?
Can you read that again for me?
I'll rephrase it.
Okay.
When there was discussion prior that when, in or around 2004, that the required amount for public safety employees to the URS for their retirement fund had to be increased because it was felt that it would be insolvent. There wasn't sufficient money coming in to pay the retirees. So we were directed to increase the URS contribution to that fund. And when we did, you alluded to the fact that there seemed to be discussion that said, let's take that money from their 401K. Do you remember that?
Yes.
In 2011, the very similar thing happened to the Tier 1 local government fund. It was also running short of money. It would have been on its trajectory, it would have been insolvent after a while because it didn't have enough in it. So the counties or the participants in URS were directed to shore up that fund by increasing their contribution to the basic URS. And that was something around 5 or 6%, I believe. So the question is this: in order to pay URS that additional money, was that money taken from the 401K of the Tier 1 employees as it was law enforcement? Or do you know?
Just 1 second.
Do not make up something if you don't know.
So in 2010, the local government optional rate paid to Tier 1 local government employees in 2010 was 6.35%. The next year, the year you're referring to, in 2011, it remained at 6.35%. So the answer, I believe, would be no.
Okay, was there a supplemental amount that had to be paid
By who?
by the county to URS to keep that fund solvent?
Well, I believe all the rates were adjusted based on actuarial recommendations. And Tier 2 also was, I believe, given a supplement that they had to add to fund the unfunded liability in Tier 1.
Okay, I had asked about Tier 1, but if it helps to include Tier 2, the bottom line question is still this: did we have a situation where the URS contribution was increased in order to pay or to shore up the retirement fund for the local government employees?
So I can't speak to all the years, but I can refer between 2010 and 2011. The required rate went up from 7.65 to 9.36 for
Okay.
local government, and the optional amount stayed the same.
Okay, so,
So the optional amount was not used to pay for that increase.
that was the bottom line question, is we did need to increase the URS payment, the required payment, by a certain amount. And in order to do that, the county simply paid that. They did not reduce anyone's optional 401K to make the payment.
Yeah, let me correct those numbers I just gave you. So,
Mark, I tell you what, it's in the record.
okay,
All I want to know is whether there was, based on what you found, where there was an increase, similar to what happened with law enforcement, where the county paid the difference, had to pay the difference, and then where that money came from to pay that difference. And it looks like,
so there is an instance here that I'm looking at where the rate increased, the required rate, and the optional rate stayed the same.
okay. During the period of time between January 1st, and I realize you're looking at a record, you're not, have no firsthand information about any of this prior to your coming on. During the period of time between January 1st, 2000 through June 30th, 2021, was the optional payment contribution paid to all the benefited county employees outside of public safety? The optional payment of the 401K, did everyone except law enforcement get that? Based on your review of the record.
Well, the record indicates that they were to receive it. Whether they did is, I haven't reviewed payroll records.
Okay. All right, in accordance with County Policy 460, Section 8, was there any documentation that established the amount of the contribution to be paid to the non-public safety employees between January 1st, 2000 and January 30th, 2021?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Those are all the questions I have. Commissioner Housen?
I don't have anything. I was going to clarify a date back on question 5 that was asked if were you able to determine when the optional 401K and 457 payments to public safety employees was discontinued in whole or in part? You had for Tier 2, you had 2011. Is that when Tier 2 came in?
Tier 2 came into existence for anyone who started after July 1st of 2011.
Okay. When did this appear? When did this seem on your records? When did this appear to start in 2000 for the Tier 1?
For Tier 1, the decreasing of the optional, I was only able to get records back to 2003. So in 2003, it started decreasing. And by 2004, it went to 0 for public safety.
Okay. That's it. That's all I have.
Okay, Commissioner Horks? All right. Mark, did you have anything else that I think that's not in the record you're going to submit, but
No.
not opinion?
No.
Okay. All right. If you could submit those, that would be great.
Do you want this?
All right, Mike Wilkins, if you would, please. Mike, do you have any issues with using the word swear or so help you God?
Yeah, I do today.
Okay. Will you swear, do you solemnly affirm that the information you shall give in this meeting, well, I'm sorry, could you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly affirm that the information you shall give in this meeting shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth under the penalties of perjury?
Yes.
Thank you. And Mike, everybody knows you, but you are, would you state your title?
Mike Wilkins, Uintah County Clerk Auditor.
And since there was a county?
34 and a half years.
34 and a half
Be
years.
35 years in June.
Okay, thank you, Mike. You were issued a subpoena requiring you to be present at this hearing and to bring with you specific records. As the clerk auditor, during the time frame identified in the notice of claims, you're in a position to collect information and provide direct testimony on URS required contributions, optional contributions to employee 401k and 457B accounts, and budget allocations. Did you find any information responsive to the information specified by the subpoena?
Yes, I did.
Did you find any information not specified by the subpoena, but which you felt is related to the information required by the subpoena?
Yes.
Okay. In accordance with County Policy 460, Section 8, did you find evidence that the County Commission deliberated and determined a percentage to contribute to the public safety employees account each year between January 1st, 2000 and June 30th, 2021?
I was able to locate from 2002. I did find minutes for 2000 and 2001,
Okay.
and then all the way through.
Okay. So all the way through to 2021.
I included 2022 in it also.
Okay. Were you able to determine if there was a time when the optional 401k payment from the county was made to the employees within the public safety job classification?
Yes, I was.
Were you able to determine when the optional 401k payment to the public safety employees was discontinued, in whole or in part?
For Tier 1, yes.
Yes. Were you able to locate any official written or recorded deliberation or decision which resulted in the discontinuation of the payment to the public safety employees?
Read that again, please.
Were you able to locate any official written or recorded deliberation or decision which resulted in the discontinuation of the payment to the public safety employees?
No comment on that one.
This is not a compelling issue, as I mentioned. We're not trying to compel testimony at all.
Under the advice of
no
my attorney,
comment.
no comment on that one.
Okay.
All the documents I
is-
will give you have all that information.
Is that, when you say no comment, is that a reference to your Fifth Amendment, or is it just?
No comment.
During your review, did you come across any records challenging the decision to discontinue the payment to the public safety employees?
No comment.
This is a very similar question that I had asked to Mark Caldwell. It's the same, it kind of goes to the same area. When the state legislature in 2003 or 4 directed that organizations participating in URS increase their contribution to the retirement fund for public safety employees, there is information indicating the fund supporting that public safety employees needed to be shored up. Did the additional contribution from Uintah County to that fund come from eliminating some or all of the optional 401, 457K?
That is in the documents you will receive.
But is it yes, it's in the, and it is in the documents?
It's in
or
the
is it-
documents.
Okay. All right. In addition to the required URS contributions, were there sufficient funds at any time during the years from January 1st, 2000 to June 30th, 2021? Was there sufficient budget to pay for an optional 401, 457 contribution to the public safety employees?
No comment on that one.
Okay. From the date that the optional payment to the public safety employees was discontinued until the present, has the optional payment to the public safety employees been deliberated to determine if it should be restored in total or in part?
It's in the documents.
Again, point of clarification, the answer,
Point of clarification is I want to welcome the public to grant my request this entire document, so just not you guys get it. And other than that, no comment.
okay, during the period of time from January 1st to June 30th, 2021, was the optional payment contribution paid to all the benefited employees outside of public safety classification?
It's in the documents.
In accordance with County Policy 460, Section 8, was there any document that established the amount of the contribution to be paid to the non-public safety employees between January 1st, 2000 and June 30th, 2021?
It's all included in these documents.
In or around, no, I got the answer to that one. I think that's it for me. Commissioner?
I have nothing.
Commissioner Horks? Okay, Mike, did you have anything else that you wanted to add, other than what you already added about the grandma request?
Nope.
Okay. All right. That concludes the list of witnesses. Thank you. Commissioners, any other questions? I think most of the witnesses remained. If you had any follow-up or anything else. Any questions, clarifications?
Nope.
All right. Our next step will be to convene a closed session for purpose of discussing pending or imminent litigation. The information that we've received today will inform that discussion. And based on that, it is expected that the commission will reach a conclusion on how to deal with the claim that Steve Labrum has filed to determine whether the county feels there is any legal obligation to pay any or all or none. So with that, this hearing, I turn it back over to you, Commissioner, but for all intents and purposes, the hearing is, from my standpoint, is concluded.
Okay. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Adjourn.
Thank you.
I'll bet it's Amanda's. How are ya? You guys?